And welcome to an hour with the candidates, otherwise known as Candidates Corner, a project of the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian National Committee. Chairman Joe Bishop Henchman. The purpose of our show, as always, is to not only promote libertarian values, libertarian brotherhood and sisterhood, if you will, but to bring directly to the vast libertarian universe the folks in our quote-unquote down ballot candidates, the folks behind the curtain, if you will, at the Libertarian Party, the folks doing the yeoman's work, campaign managers, candidate treasurers, the vast ecosystem, if you will, that is involved in supporting, promoting, electing libertarian candidates. Joining us tonight is someone I think is very special to the entire movement. The nicknames for her are endless. There are more nicknames for our guest tonight than there are memes for Bernie Sanders. But they're all rooted in a profound respect and a profound admiration for someone who is that libertarian volunteer and is now that libertarian membership coordinator. Of course, I'm talking about Mama Mac, Michelle MacCutcheon, from the great state of Ohio, who seemingly has become sort of a den mother figure. Or better yet, I think the title might be taken. I'll call her the house mother. If you were to think of the libertarian movement of this vast fraternity or sorority or whatever the current term is, this vast university of wayward students, teachers, organizers, if there is one person who has been a constant in this movement for the entire time that I've been involved, virtually appearing in roles in every important part of the party, whether it be presidential campaigns, whether it be fundraising, whether it be membership drives on a local level, now on up to the national level. Michelle MacCutcheon has always been there. If you've ever felt the tough love of Michelle MacCutcheon, you will never forget it. Speaking for a friend, of course, if you've ever missed a deadline, it is not unlike disappointing your parents. I don't know if I've ever heard her raise her voice, but the profound disappointment you feel if, again, hypothetically, you've missed a deadline from literally a few thousand miles away is palpable. Yet there she is the next day again, doing everything she can to support you, everything she can to bring people of an astonishing variety of backgrounds together for one really simple mission. And that is the advancement of our statement of principles in libertarian philosophy. So it is with great honor I welcome to the first time for LPTV, Michelle MacCutcheon. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Pat, thank you so much for having me. I don't know that I can follow that kind of introduction with much of anything else.
Well, it's heartfelt. We're a fractious group of people. I think there's genuine love amongst all the different caucuses and groups and states and affiliates, but there are always variations on the libertarian theme. There are different perspectives, different opinions. We're a passionate bunch. The closest analogy I can draw to a libertarian platform committee meeting, whether it be at a local affiliate or at the national convention, is a rugby scrum. Yet, much like rugby, at the end of the match, we all, shake hands for the most part and engage in whatever mood ameliorating substances, whatever that brings us together, and we do it together. But yeah. But a critical component of that is leadership, and different people have different leadership styles. And your leadership style is, number one, I've never seen you ask anyone to involve themselves in or do the work that you aren't not only have done before, but you're probably going to do alongside of them, and sometimes in place of them. It's a quiet friendship with everyone who walks in through those hallowed doors of the Libertarian Party, regardless of whether you've known them for a few days or maybe a few years in the trenches. And we're talking from everybody from the National Committee itself in our chair's office to the newest person joining a local affiliate in a small town, maybe 3 or 4 time zones away from you. And that's what's remarkable, because it's critical as an organization that we recognize those talents, and we perhaps, after a conversation like we're about to have, try to find lessons from whoever we have, whether it be a Larry Sharp figure, or you, or any one of the number of candidates who have just, given so much of themselves to this effort, this Herculean effort. This seems sometimes this impossible effort that we engage in, that we understand. And really, when we meet people like you, and whether it be virtually, as it sadly as has to happen right now, or in person, that we try to draw strengths from people. And that's probably the most important part of this show, is that we have lots of different folks in lots of different roles talking about their superpowers. And I'm convinced that everyone in this movement has a superpower. It's just a question of finding that what it is. And you do a remarkable job of unearthing people's superpowers. So I always got to lead off with the first question. How'd you end up here? How did you become a libertarian? What was that libertarian moment when that light bulb went off that said, okay, I found a home? Because not only you found a home, you've made a home for people. First,
let me welcome the newbie who is watching. Portia Shepard said she just joined, so welcome aboard. Woo-woo. I was never very political. The very first time I was old enough to vote in a presidential election, I was almost 22. I was about a month shy, and very, very expecting. My daughter was due 2 days from then. She ended up coming later. I go to and pick up my ballot, and there's 3 people on it. What? Who is this Ron Paul character? So that was the first seed. 7 years later, hold on. 4 years later, 1992, my husband was on a staycation cleaning things around the house. And he's normally very even-keeled kind of guy, kind of stoic. Comes and meets me at the door and says, come here, you got to see this. Just excited, plops me down on the couch, and it's C-SPAN. And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't like politics. And he goes, shh, listen, they're making so much sense. It was the Libertarian Convention. So despite all the 1-800-ELECT US going across the bottoms of the screen the entire time, I didn't realize you could become a dues-paying member. And he sent away, unbeknownst to me, for his membership card. And 3 years later, I noticed his renewal letter coming. I said, hey, I want to be a member too. He said, I didn't think you would want to be. So I joined in 95 and was only a little bit active in my region doing petitions. My husband ran for U.S. House in 2000. And I really started stepping up and being more active with our social media in 2014. And then it went crazy from there. I've been Ohio membership coordinator. The first campaign I really worked on was presidential, and I was immediately put in the state director role. In one weekend, I had used Facebook to completely, I was already Ohio's membership coordinator, so I had a good connection in my state. I completely filled all but one of my regional roles, had a Facebook group of over 300 volunteers formed in less than 48 hours. And got promoted every month in the Gary Johnson campaign and landed at the national field trainer on the apps. So canvassing apps, calling apps, texting apps, nation builder. I trained on all those. I had a couple people that would pinch hit that were state directors, and because you can only offer training so many times a day when you're still working a full-time day job. Mm-hmm. So it was a wild adventure since then. And I've worked congressional campaigns, gubernatorial campaigns, done off texting for like Gary's Senate run. Somebody reached out. Oh gosh, who was our guy in Alabama? Not Ron Bishop. A couple election cycles ago, somebody reached out via PM, and Gary Waddell from out west and myself helped Rachel Varley do mass texting, and we were actually using our personal numbers. Do not ever do that. I got doxxed. Actually, I was doxxed when I was texting for Angela McArdle's campaign. Mm-hmm. The guy put my personal phone number out on Twitter. Jared alerted me because I'm not a Twitterer. So we got it pulled down. Then he was all salty because he said libertarians were doxing him when It was the other way around. But this is family. This is the way to raise the dialogue, increase political unity in this country. People are hungry for our message. And the vast influx has those of us on staff so busy. It is just amazing. And it's the work that our candidates are out there doing. It's the work that our activists are doing, which of course is particularly challenging with COVID being what it is. Mm-hmm. And we owe everything to the folks that are getting out there and spreading the message, and to our electeds, like my wonderful staff member, Kara Schultz and Apollo Zell, who are two amazing rock stars that help with candidate recruitment and candidate support. And the big win we saw, of course, with Marshall Burton, Wyoming, first state rep win in over 20 years, was directly due to them and all the hard work. And it's really paying off, and everybody is courting us now.
Let's step back in time just a little bit. Your earliest successes in the party were in organizing and getting folks to volunteer. So for all the folks who are out there listening, what can you give any tips to recruiting and a little bit of how to manage a volunteer? Because that's one of the secret sauces that is so critical to the success of an individual affiliate and or a campaign.
Yes, it is. The recruiting part for me is easy. I'm a recruiter by nature, but being open to new connections on social media. At that time, I had my profile completely open and was accepting every request that came in. Really helped. Being able to talk to somebody and learn where their strengths are and their skill sets in very short order. I can talk to somebody for 1 or 2 minutes in my previous recruiting life and know which one of my clients they'd be a fit for. When you onboard recruiters or onboard volunteers, tracking them and their skill sets so that you can follow up with them and make sure that they're okay, that they have work to do, that they're not overwhelmed, which a lot of people in our movement will do to themselves. There's so few of us, you'll wear like 20 hats. And we need to make sure that we appreciate our volunteers, because without them, we've got nothing. Appreciate them, check in with them, make sure that they are supported, but we also need to track them on the back end, because it's very easy when things are growing very quickly to let that get out of control. And then, you know, Susie Sunshine calls you from 3 states over and she needs everybody in a certain city, and you have nowhere you've tracked any of this, whether it be a spreadsheet or your own software, what have you. You have got to do that. Regular calls, regular meetings, being accessible to your staff, returning calls when you can't make the staff. When you are in a leadership role over volunteers, you have to be accessible pretty much 24/7. And if you can't, if you know, like there's a family funeral or a family wedding that you're going to be out of pocket for a certain amount of time, you best have, you know, a copy and paste text ready to send that person says, hey, I'm at a wedding, call this person. And that person needs to know to be able to head that off for you. And that's the kind of thing your good campaign managers will help, excuse me, your volunteer coordinators get in place. But those are very key. Appreciate your people, make sure they're in something that fits their skills, make sure they're not overwhelmed, but also not bored. And make sure you know where they are. Because when we have boots on the ground going door knocking, it's not going to help me to know I have 5,000 volunteers if I don't know what state, much less what city you are all in.
Jared Hall is in the text room, if you will, and he's asking, how do you prevent burnout?
I tell people to pace themselves. Know in advance how much time a week you are realistically able to commit and stick to that. If it becomes too much, have that discussion with the person that is over you, because the burnout is absolutely real. I've had to take, you know, a couple of weeks off here and there. you can do 2 and 3 projects if they're smaller projects or smaller on time intensive level.
Mhm.
For me, if I want to do them well, it's one really big one in addition to my day job.
A constant source of, I mean, well, let's call it contention amongst our libertarian universe, if you will, is, and it's also one of the standing jokes in the party is, you know, I'm that libertarian, I'm a libertarian, I'm a better libertarian than you. But on a serious note, as in both of your roles, as in particularly as a volunteer coordinator, you get folks in who have a pretty diverse set of viewpoints and sometimes a very interesting set of interpretations of what libertarianism stands for. And yet at the same time, we don't want to disqualify people. We don't want to prejudge how, you know, it's when you get new folks in and when you get new volunteers in, how do you manage both the expectations of the people that they're suddenly diving into, some of whom may be long time libertarians, and sometimes other new ones who are very strict in their interpretation. How do you manage that sort of fractious environment?
So there's a couple different tactics. When I was on a campaign, it was actually Kim Ruff's presidential campaign. We had a group chat as well as our Slack, but nobody was using Slack. So we had a group chat. So we had, I don't know, 300, 500 people at one point in time in one chat. I asked people once it got more crowded, would you like added or not? You do not have to because we'll cross post in Slack. And I highly recommend you mute it unless you don't care to be binged all night and day. And then just check it as you can. I encourage the team not to have philosophical debates. This is the campaign. The campaign is our focus. There's plenty of other places you can discuss libertarian politics and policies. This is not the place. You see Kim's stances, you see John Phillips' stances. It's not, we have too much to do to be sitting here and you know, having a libertarian discussion. As membership coordinator, obviously it's not the pressingness of the urgency of a campaign, so to speak. When I am talking to people, it just doesn't ever really come up. I have had a few tougher policy questions for people that maybe see a little differently than I do on immigration, right? On abortion, and I'm able to have those discussions, and meeting new people where they are has challenged me to be a better proponent of being able to explain the libertarian message and our platform without coming off like it's my way or no way. Mm-hmm. Because we are a broad spectrum of beliefs. I can't emphasize that enough. And that's what makes it, I think, so confusing for folks coming from the old parties, is that it's much more rigid, and we are a broad spectrum. If you believe in not using force or fraud to achieve social or political goals, you're one of us. That could be a vast number of things.
How important is it in your mind, or not? I'd love your approach on this. When you get a new member, getting them right into some type of volunteer activity, getting them involved with another group of more established other libertarians. I am constantly trying to connect people and trying to engage them at whatever level they want to be engaged at. So having that recruiter background and being able to kind of hear in their voice what they're willing to do. Some people are just excited to hear from you and thank you for the call, and you can tell they're at work and they really don't want to go further than just being a dues-paying member. That's fine. We love them too. Other people are like, I'm thinking of running for office. Where do I go? Can you answer this on philosophy for me? And, where's the best avenue for this? And get into the weeds a lot. And we're tracking it on the national end, right? Trying to keep constantly up with all the conventions coming up, all the chair changes, who goes where and who connects with who. And between my wonderful associate, stewardship associate, Chris Clements,
we've got all the states and we're constantly updating that. So it's a very quick reference for like who goes where. We do have Slack for our national membership. About 10% of our membership actually uses that. We are pushing that more. We are connecting people more outside of Facebook on places like MeWe, LinkedIn. Of course, we're on Twitter and Instagram. So people are finding each other that way. And due to the amazing Valerie Sarworks initiative with affiliate support and all Andy's doing on the staff side of that, we're going to have so many more county parties spinning up that people are going to literally have something in their backyard. So there's lots of little pieces of that make that happen. I think it's going to be ramped up to a level that I cannot even fathom when we get our that new position filled, the activism coordinator, the new role. There's going to be a lot more engagement. There's going to be a lot more direct training, and there's going to be a lot more of those connections that people will find what you and I found and really find not only a political home, but a family.
Now, the question that is on the tip of everyone's tongue, my understanding is, about 2-3 months ago, as we say in Rhode Island, there was an election, and it was a little fractious, and the impact and the after effects may have dragged on for a few weeks, and there were a few dust ups, a little bit of controversy. It was certainly not in the manner of that we like to conduct ourselves, where it got physical and people use force and coercion, and the after effect of that. For folks like ourselves who are out in the field is largely anecdotal, and it's largely, related to what part of the country is in, whether you're in a blue state or red state. But you see the big picture. You see what's happened since, either by some people's definition, the fight outside and inside the Capitol building, or by other people's interpretation, the sedition and the attempted takeover of the United States. Regardless of that, what impact has that had on folks reaching out to the libertarian movement? And you give some anecdotes, some people's experience, and what they're looking for after having just been so damaged by the duopoly. Just the sheer, around here we call it Cult 45, but the sheer madness that was perpetrated by the last regime.
It's very hard for me to understand what was going through their heads, but we all like to watch things that offer confirmation bias, right? I'd rather watch your show than turn on CNN or turn on Fox. So I kind of get how you can get in that so deep that you don't see anything out here.
Right.
And whether or not it was truly seditious I don't know what was in these people's hearts. I think a lot of people got together and some of them got very violent. And I think violence in this case was obviously not warranted. Nobody was physically hurting them. Whether you believe there was fraud or not, the courts couldn't find proof. So why are we here? What that affected on the back end for us was that we saw a huge influx. People were done with the vitriol, the violence, and people are like, what, please tell me more about you. Like that young lady, Jennifer, was asking in the chat, what resources can you recommend? There is a lot to read if you want to go to Lpedia. Oh gosh, lpedia.org. It might be .com. Hold on. Let me double check real quick for Jennifer.
I think it's lpedia.org.
It is.
Yep.
It's lpedia.org. It's a rabbit hole of information of everything libertarian. It's the brainchild of our sitting secretary, Karen Ann Harlos, and the Historical Society, and they are always looking for volunteers. She has a ton of information that needs added and uploaded. So that is a great source. I always say to turn on alerts for the Libertarian Party's YouTube channel and watch past LPTVs, watch Pat's show, watch Libertarians at Large, watch Libertarios Hispanos with Martha Bueno. Those are 3 solid shows. The other channel I say to watch that I'm particularly enjoying right now is Spike Cohen. He is doing features of elected libertarians called The Culture of Winning. And those are some great resources that folks can start with. Mm-hmm. Really, honestly, in the past, all I've referred people to is the platform, but a lot of people even don't want to read 5 minutes, right?
Right.
Which is all it really takes, 5 to 10 minutes, and you've read the platform top to bottom, statement of principles and everything. And if they like to watch and they like to hear real libertarians talk and see what real libertarian electeds do between your show and Spike's, you guys are covering like all the candidates. Larry Sharp is another great resource. Mm-hmm. But there are so many. I follow the Libertarian Candidates page. I really enjoy that on social media. And I actually got to meet him at the Kentucky rally. And he's running for office now. So there is so much out there. Oh, look at that, Tony. Woo!
I love this platform. It's pretty interactive. So we're getting in an influx. A lot of questions. People are, is there been a corresponding increase in membership that folks have seen on the ground there?
Yes, we typically have a significant drop off after presidential cycles. Welcome aboard, Alex. And we are not seeing any kind of drop off at all. So the event in the Capitol was on the 6th. And normally we would have dropped off, right after going into December, into January. Everybody's doing Christmas, all this. And it just didn't happen. We have more and more people reaching out, more and more people, if they're not sure they want to be members, they are looking to donate. I referred a few of them to watch this show tonight so they can learn more about us. And I told them not to judge me too harshly. But it's amazing. And it's not just the Republicans that are done. It's the Democrats. It's the independents. It's the non-voters. And people have lots of questions, and they're really hungry for a political party that is anxious to raise the dialogue.
Right. When folks reach out to you, clearly there are a couple of different different sets of, I'll call them issues, and I'm painting with a broad brush here, that initiate or create the drive for someone to initiate a phone call to a political party. And you have to think that, it's pretty encouraging that, first of all, there's the brand awareness out there. I think it's better than we give a lot better than we give ourselves credit for. Sometimes as libertarians, we're pretty harsh on ourselves in terms of the success of our efforts. My experience with this show, and I think we're going on a year, I'm not even sure, but is that there is wonder and joy out there to behold, that there's tremendous successes, not just in the people who won elections, and those are fabulous, but also the folks who ran highly principled, dynamic campaigns. And, Thomas Daniel Quitter, for example, in New York, an outstanding campaign, brought a lot of issues to a difficult part of the country to campaign in. But I'm just wondering, how much, is there any way to break down, even just in a broad generalization, whether it be COVID concerns and, the overreaching of our federal and state and local governments? Is it revulsion from the past campaign? Is there any one theme out there that's driving people to reach out in a time? By the way, this is a time when a lot of people are claiming to be exhausted by politics. But from my conversations with you and candidates around the country, it's really anything but, is it? They're yearning for something, aren't they?
They really are. They're tired of politics as usual, of the negativity, the hate. Instead of us seeing, potentially Washington as our enemy, we're seeing each other as our enemy. And a lot of that, the isolation that some of us have been more locked down than others, and that human connection breeds that, right? As we close our circles, we breed contempt for things that are different. Me and my friends, we're all right, and you're not. So I am seeing some interest because of the COVID lockdowns. Obviously, a lot of interest. I've only been with the party in this role since July,
Mm-hmm.
and the interest from Joe and Spike and the way they relayed our message in such a wonderful way. I often used to tell people I see Joe as the head, right? The teacher, the logic, all this, and Spike is the heart. And that combo functioned so well for us. And the message really resonated with people. And this time, we were really more prepared to grab those volunteers and get them tied in. We had no idea in 2016 the influx that we would truly get, right?
Right.
And we didn't really have the infrastructure. We were a lot more prepared this time. We'll be even 2024. The exponential growth I feel like we're going to have by then, I can't even quite get my brain around.
No, because what's happening now is folks like yourself are setting the foundation. You've broken through that first glass ceiling, if you will. We're on to the second or third floor, and we're ready. We're building a framework that's focused on getting people to join the organization and focus on getting people elected. And a big part of that, by the way, and I love your interpretation of this. I was fortunate enough to spend about 4 or 5 days traveling with the campaign, and I was fortunate enough to do a little bit of advance work for a New England tour that Joe was on, and Spike came to Providence a couple of times. We were very blessed in Rhode Island. Despite some people's disappointment in the drop-off in vote total, I personally endorsed the viewpoint of Reason Magazine when they talked about how this was the campaign where we defined our base. This is the campaign where nearly 2 million Americans voted for a candidate that, well known within our circles, not as well known around the nation. Didn't have that.
Circles, unless you were like old school, you didn't know who Joe Jorgensen was beforehand.
Right.
And I'm old school, and I had no idea who Spike was.
Right.
Till they started campaigning, right? And I was enough on social media that then I was very aware.
Yeah, and so we have built that. We now have that base, and that base can be recognized as about a little around 2 million people. Well, first of all, that's a lot of people, and we understand that the duopoly, through all their different techniques, has got, at least for the time being, a chokehold on some of the electoral politics. But do you sense that the new people, and the new people that joined us in Rhode Island, really didn't give a damn about how big the Republican or Democratic Party was? They simply were in a search, and they found something.
Yes.
Is that a universal?
It's pretty universal. People, when you first hear libertarian ideas, they're like, I think a lot of us thought, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. And I'm seeing that multiplied more and more and more. A lot of our joiners are people that said I was independent, or I was staying Republican, or staying Democrat. For whatever reason, I just always had been, but I was mostly voting libertarian. I decided it was finally time, given our political environment, to put my money where my mouth is.
That's excellent. Now, how many of these lessons that you've learned through the last 10 years or so of whether it be fundraising, whether it be getting volunteers, now at the national level, you've worked at a national campaign, the Gary Johnson campaign. You're now working at through the national office in one of the arguably one of the most important roles in the country. The lessons that you've learned that you talk about that, how applicable are they to the affiliates? Because this show, in a sense, is really dedicated to getting an understanding of what you do nationally, but at the same sense, extrapolating those lessons as they apply to affiliates. And I get the sense that you'd be very open to different affiliate leaders coming to you and asking for tips.
Absolutely. We are actually, our affiliate went defunct not quite 4 years ago, and we are actually spinning that up now. Mm-hmm. So I took my personal email instead of my, work one, and emailed some people links that want to go, and we're meeting virtually to have a formation discussion. But just reaching out, a lot of people, Carrie Bittner wrote letters. That gets expensive. I would opt for postcards. to all the people who pulled a libertarian ballot in your county, telling them you're here, giving them your personal contact info, and just that personal touch. If you're comfortable and you're able to without getting arrested, going door to door and literally talking to those people to follow up on the postcards. If you have a texting app and your voter data that you can pull has text numbers, text those people. If your state is on our Civi CRM software, you can do those things from there. If not, your state may have, Nation Builder or whatever. Do that. Make it personal. Get time to talk to these people. People want to help. They want to make this better. This is our world. We got to share this. And I am not leaving this freaking mess to my grandkid. So he's little. He doesn't know yet what he doesn't know, because he's actually 9 months as of 2 days ago. But hopefully he won't ever know a world that is as least free as it is now, where his grandma's labeled a terrorist.
Right. Hey, you and me both. Let's think about for a second, folks. You're seeing, you're seeing the lovely and glamorous and talented Michelle MacCutcheon. You're looking at me, and is the word terrorist come to mind at any level? A terrorist with a comb over. Yeah, there you go. Oh boy, what's
fear dogs? They kind of terrorize people. Oh, somebody just got, a bunch of people are saying they were getting booted 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know. I'm on under the LP's banner. Yeah, it looks like I'm still on.
Yeah, turn off the lights. They're coming for us. We've only got a couple minutes left, so I want to make sure we do two things. We always, every week, engage in what we call shameless self-promotion. Let's leave that to the end. Let's do that first. But what I'd like to close out on is someone with your, again, with your strength and the genuine affection that folks around the movement have, and the respect they have for your efforts. I'd ask you to, if you had a message that you wanted to say to everyone, a message of optimism and a message of inclusion. So tell us how folks can join, how they can reach out to you, but just as importantly, tell to the Libertarian Nation right now the message that you'd want to deliver to them for this year.
I am here for your support. You matter. Your voice is making more changes than you realize. I am here to support you, help you be as engaged as you want, and people are hungry to hear your message. You may be the only libertarian somebody knows, so be very conscious of all those things you post on social media, because many more people are reading than who are commenting. And you might win over people you never, ever had any idea were even paying attention. That happened to me. I thought I knew it all. And I had the entire management team where I used to work. All of us ended up voting Jorgensen. I didn't know about anyone but one of them prior to the election. So there is a lot of people that are about to flip, and you're going to be the one to do it. So stay the course. You can reach me at Michelle, MICHELLE at lphq.org. Absolutely feel free to do so. If you are a brand new member and you have not done so yet, we host a new member welcome hangout that you can find out at lp.org/hangout. And you can pick what night you want to come. Those are at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. We cover a presentation on membership resources and what's out there, as well as open it up for Q&A. And what else was I going to do? Shameless self-promotion.
Yep.
Join the LP. Become a donor. I challenge you to do a minimum of $5 a month. You will get a special 50th anniversary donor pin once you hit your $60. And we are good stewards of your money. We take 0 corporate donations as a party. Our candidates do not take corporate donations. We need to compete in advertising and support for our candidates and our state parties. And we need to get ballot access, which is extraordinarily expensive. If you can give more, you do 125, you hit a lifetime membership, which means you get a lifetime membership in the year that the Libertarian Party hits its 50th birthday. And stay tuned. We're going to have a giant 50th birthday thing coming up. Announcements to come soon.
Outstanding. Well, I mean, as someone who's been the beneficiary of your expertise, but also the beneficiary of your camaraderie, I just want to say congratulations on all your efforts. We expect great things from you going forward. There are, listen, there are folks who work tirelessly across the nation, but from that, there are a variety of folks who act as inspiration, and I would consider really the soul of the party. You are one of those people, and again, here we are after years of effort, and we're just gearing up for a whole nother round this year. That's the kind of attitude that all of us need to do. It's been a difficult year for so many people, a lot of tragedy, a lot of loss. But if there's any solace to that, it's the understanding that we've got the nucleus, if you will, within the Libertarian Party to really change the direction of this nation, to point out what's happened, how our philosophy not only could have prevented it, but how our philosophy can help us, if you will, return from it. And I have no doubt that you'll be right out there in front. So again, for your efforts, a sincere thank you from all of us. And thanks for joining us tonight. Martha Bueno, by the way, next week is going to be joining us. She'll be talking about some of her efforts, her show. She does a wonderful show during the week here on LPTV. I'd like to point out that LPTV is a newish effort of the party, sort of redefining itself every day, finding its way, finding a mission. If you'd like to participate in this show going forward, just reach out to me. I'm all over social media. Just reach out to me if you're a candidate, if you're looking to be put in touch with people who have candidates resources, if you'd like to talk about your candidacy on this show. The doors are open to folks everywhere. Michelle, thanks again for joining us tonight. You've been listening and watching LPTV, Libertarian Party Television, a project, if you will, of the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian National Committee. Joe Bishop Henchman is, of course, our chair. My name is Pat Ford. I am blessed to be the chair of the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island, if you will, in the deep in the heart of really the bluest America. But all of us, whether we're in that blue state, red state, purple state, are facing challenges as a result of the last few weeks. Folks, take it personally, get involved, reach out to people like Michelle, reach out to the party, reach out to your local affiliates. I look forward to seeing you in the trenches. And of course, we'll see you next week on An Hour with the Candidates, also known as Candidates Corner. Have a wonderful evening.